Home buyers, listen up. You will want to avoid these 7 home buying regrets. Other people have made these mistakes so that you don't have to. And in the next 10 minutes, you will discover how to avoid these 7 common regrets. Let's go. The first regret amongst home buyers is underestimating the total cost it takes, or the total cost it is to buy a home. Now, I deal with a lot of first-time home buyers. I talk to them on the phone, I meet with them in person, and a lot of them only associate buying a home with the down payment and the closing cost. That's what they mostly associate, and then obviously the monthly payment afterwards once they're officially in the home. Those buyers, first-time buyers, typically, I guess, kind of forget about the potential. There's not potential maintenance, there is maintenance with the property, there are property taxes, there is insurance, there are unexpected repairs. So the furnace, let's say you move in, you live up in the Northeast or in a cooler environment, winter is a couple months away, the furnace ends up giving out a month after closing. Do you have the money to cover that? $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 expense? Like, you got to factor in all of those potential expenses that are associated with buying a home or owning a home. The second common regret is choosing the wrong location. You hear it quite often about how some buyers are just so desperate to find a home that they disregard the location that they're looking in. It obviously comes down to your personal preferences and what is most comfortable for you. You might think you could do that 1 hour and 15-minute commute to work, but then you actually move into the property and you try that new commute to work, and then it's like, oh, this isn't going to work out. So in that instance, you would have to do that commute to work, do a test run for that commute to work before you even move forward with an offer on the property. That's what I would recommend, at least, because the worst thing you can do is write up an offer on a property. It gets accepted, you close on that property, and then you discover that it's just too long of a commute. That is no good. So please do not do that. Determine what's a comfortable commute time for you, for whatever it is. If you want to be closer to family, if you want to be in a certain time frame, 40, 50, 60 minutes away from family, 40, 50, 60 minutes away from work, whatever is most comfortable for you. I don't want you stretching yourself thin and then ultimately regretting where you bought because it's just overbearing and just too much of a commute time. So how far is too far for a commute? Do the necessary research, like I said, before you even move forward with an offer. And you might be saying to yourself, but well, it's been so competitive, we're not gonna have time to do all this research. Whatever's meant to be will be, ultimately. You will have time to do the research, you just might have to do it in a quicker manner. If it's going to see the property at an open house or a showing, try to do as much as you can before seeing the property, and then immediately after that property, and just doing all your research in that stage as well, and contacting and being in touch with the realtor along the way too helps tremendously. Number 3, settling too quickly. We have been in a very competitive market this last 4.5 years at this point, ever since COVID, and a lot of buyers have rushed into buying a home. So this kind of is related to choosing the wrong location. They had that FOMO, the fear of missing out, the fear that that house was gonna be gone, and then they ultimately regret it. And then you have the other people that find a home, they move too quickly on it without doing the proper research, and then of course they regret it. They compromise on certain features that were important to them, like yard size. Once they move in, they have 4 dogs. The 1/10 of an acre lot is just not viable for 4 dogs. They regret that decision. They regret not getting a garage because they had more stuff than they anticipated. Things like that. Factor in all those features that you want and make an educated decision before you even put an offer in on a property. It's an emotional moment when you're writing an offer. Before you write an offer, you go to an open house, you go to a private showing, and you just fall in love with that property right in the spot. Yeah, I can see why. I deal with those types of buyers. I deal with those types of emotions. You're thinking like, this is the most perfect home for us. Like, I want to move forward right now. You gotta take a step back, get back to the drawing board, and think of the pros and cons for that property, and if it works for you or if it does not work for you based off what exactly it is that you're looking for. I know it's hard in the heat of the moment, but you're gonna have to try your best to take a step back. Number 4 is waiving the home inspection. That has been very common the last couple years because it's been very competitive. There's multiple offers on a lot of properties, and in order to make your offer more appealing, in a lot of cases you would have to waive your home inspection. Now, as a realtor, I can't tell you to do a home inspection or not do a home inspection. It's not my decision. I'm not the one buying the property. It's you buying the property. You're the one that's gonna be living in it. All I can say is I always think it's a good idea to get a home inspection for this reason. Like I've said, we've been dealing with a lot of waived inspections the last couple of years, and I don't know the exact percentage of buyers that have regretted not getting a home inspection, because shortly after closing on their property, they had these issues that they discovered that would have been, discovered in the home inspection. That way they would have known before they moved further ahead in the transaction. At that point at closing, they've already moved into the property, it's in their name. There's not much they can do about those issues that they found other than dealing with them themselves. That could be thousands, tens of thousands of dollars that could have been saved if they just got a home inspection. It comes down to what you're comfortable with, what your personal situation is. You might have contracting experience, you might have construction experience, you might have a whole family, you might have 7 family members that know everything about homes and how to fix them and what to look for. What is your comfort zone? That is my question to you before you decide on waiving a home inspection or not waiving a home inspection. Or if you have the funds in order to waive the home inspection, like, do you have an extra $100,000 you can put aside for potential repairs? If you discover after home inspection that you have all these issues, you gotta weigh those different options. Number 5 is buying too much house. This is a very common one because a lot of people buy a larger house than they need and a more expensive house than they need. Some cases they think it's in their best interest. In some cases they do it to impress their friends and family, to keep up with the Joneses. That's a very common thing out there. And then they ultimately regret the monthly payment that they have and just how big of a home they have, because there's only 2 of them and they're in a 4,000 square foot home. That's been common since the beginning of home ownership, if I had to guess, is that regret right there. As human beings, we want to impress other people. It's natural. You want to be able to go to work and say, yeah, I bought this beautiful home, 4,000 square feet, but you don't tell them that you're in over your head on monthly payments. And that way, it leaves you less money for other aspects of your life. So you're putting most of your income towards your home. And at the end of the day, you don't want to do that because you're going to stretch yourself thin, and that's just going to deteriorate the rest of your life in different aspects. We've all bought a car, or maybe have considered buying a car. It's like buying a more expensive car than you need right now. In my stage of life at this moment in time, I've considered buying certain brands of cars, and I've looked at their price tags. It's like, Jake, do I really need this car at this stage of my life? And you think of like, oh, it looks nice, it sounds nice, it goes fast, but it's like, do you really need it? Do you really need it right now? Or can we wait maybe 5, 10 years? Ask that same question when it comes to buying a home. Where do you envision yourself in 5 years, which I've kind of spoiled what's coming up next. Where do you envision yourself? Do you need that 4,000 square foot home? Do you need that 2,500 square foot home? Or do you just need maybe a condo, a townhome, a 1,200 square foot ranch for 3, 4, 5 years? What are your needs in the present moment? And where do you envision your future needs? Do you envision certain changes in your life that's gonna require a bigger home, smaller home, so on and so forth? So go through the pros and cons. What is it that you need and what is it that you just want? And number 6 is shopping around for mortgage rates. So talk to a few lenders, see who the best fit for you is. I always recommend 3 lenders. That way it gives my buyers an option to talk to all 3 if they want, and compare rates, different closing costs for each lender, different loan programs, just who is the best fit ultimately, and just who you mesh with personality-wise the most. Number 7 is ignoring future needs. So this is kind of relatable to buying too much house, which was number 5. I've already asked this question, but where do you see yourself in 5 years? Is there a potential job change or job growth? Is there an increase or decrease in family size? Do you plan on having a family in the next 5 years? Do you have kids moving out of the house in another couple years? Someone's sick in your household. You got to take all that into account. Retirement, is that in the near future, etc. And then you always have to ask the question, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, is this a starter home or is this our forever home? And you got to weigh those different options. If it's a starter home, it goes back to buying too much house. Do you really need that massive colonial, or could you just get away with a couple years of that ranch or that condo or townhouse, or maybe a multifamily living in one unit, renting out the other unit. You gotta weigh all these decisions. I would recommend before you officially jump into the buying process, but at least before you start looking at properties with your realtor. Don't just think about current lifestyle. Think about your future lifestyle and what you envision that looking like. All those things you gotta keep in mind. All right, so the 7 regrets, once again, was underestimating total cost, choosing the wrong location, settling too quickly, waiving the home inspection, buying too much house, not shopping around for mortgage rates, and then ignoring your future needs. So those were the 7, I'm gonna do it this way. Those were the 7 most common regrets amongst home buyers. You are ahead of 99% of home buyers because you know these regrets before you're ready to move forward with, maybe it's your second home purchase, maybe it's your first home purchase. This way you're ahead of the game, and you already know what other people regret, so you try your best to avoid these potential regrets. Now it's not like, I guess, set in stone. It comes down to your personal preference. You might ignore every word I just said. That's you. I can't control you. I'm just giving you this advice. These are the mistakes that other home buyers went through so that you don't have to. With that said, that's gonna wrap up the video. So like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with a friend, colleague, family member, and contact me with any real estate needs. I will see you in the next video, which will be coming next week as the time that you're watching this video. So until then, have a great rest of the week, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.